All right. Hey, everybody. This is Cameron Stewart, and I'm here with Aubrey, and this is Simple Songwriting Episode 1. This is just an intro episode that we're doing for anybody who maybe is coming back or who is listening to a later episode and wants to come back and see, like, well, who are these guys? And just start the whole podcast from the beginning. So, hey, Aubrey, how you doing?
I'm pretty good, bud. Can't complain. Hey guys, as Cameron said, my name's Aubrey. We've known each other for quite some time now, guys, since middle school, so like 15 plus years.
Yeah,
We
it's been a long time.
we grew up together, going to a lot of shows, had a common love for music, and
Mhm.
Cameron and mostly had the idea and was kind enough to bring me in as not a musically knowledgeable person as he is to
Mhm.
try and create this podcast to learn
Talk
about
about.
a wide variety of musical topics.
Yeah, so I guess just kind of breaking us down a little bit. Yeah, we met in middle school. We actually went to a Montessori school where Aubrey was one grade below me, but they had them at the Montessori school. It was like fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. We're all in one class, so we were in the same class together. So it's all like it's funny. I don't think I've ever actually like viewed you as being younger, and you're not
Well,
a full
I'm
year,
not.
are you? Yeah.
No, I'm a late birthday, so I'm only a grade behind, but we're the same
That's what
age.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so we went to that Montessori school, and then I moved away for a few years, and I lost my Xbox microphone, so we didn't talk for like 3 years or something.
I think it was longer than that, but yeah, it was a
Yeah,
while.
it was a while. But then we reconnected in college with Destiny. Was it Destiny that we played?
Yeah, Destiny 1. I mean, we kind of reconnected in high school a little bit on that Rat's Nest game of monster trucks, but
Oh
then
yeah.
I would really say Destiny is what brought us back
Mhm.
together in a weird way. Destiny.
Yeah,
It was Destiny.
it was Destiny. Well, it's funny because like we didn't have. I mean, Facebook was a thing, but social media as a whole wasn't what it is now.
Yeah, not what it is
You
now.
know,
And you're really bad at replying to phone calls and text messages, so
look, I am. I've been working on it. I have been working on it. I try. So, but yeah, and so ever since then, we've been tight as fuck. We just went and saw. Oh, sorry, the cussing. I um, wow, right off the bat. Okay.
And-
Anyway, just moving on. We went. Yeah, just like a month or two ago, we went and saw Avenged Sevenfold live in North Carolina with a couple of our other really close friends, and yeah, it was great. It kind of brought us back to a show that you and I went to with two other really good friends from our childhood. Back in what was that? Uproar. It was 2011.
Yeah, Uproar. 2011 or 2012. It was whatever year Avenged Sevenfold, Disturbed, and Slipknot, I think, were headlining.
It was no. It was Stone Sour.
Yes, you're right. Yeah,
And then
Stone Sour.
Hailstorm.
Most importantly, yeah. Well,
but
was that the same show?
Yeah, because remember Hailstorm brought out those bongos or something, or those drums, and they all played drums. You remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yes. I do. I remember Hailstorm.
I remember all four of them were playing on like toms, like they were like floor toms, and they were all just banging dong dong dong. And I think they were the main opener. Then Stone Sour played, which was great. Then Avenged Sevenfold, which was like, I mean, honestly, that's why I was there.
Yeah, I mean, Avenged Sevenfold, Disturbed at that point in our life were pretty much like
They were the big ones.
they were the big boys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and especially with having Stone Sour there, like with it's not Slipknot, but it is Corey Taylor, and I mean,
Well,
doesn't it have like
Slipknot.
what's the guitarist's name?
Oh, Jim Root.
Jim
Yeah.
Root, that's right.
He's not the guitarist anymore, though.
Stone Sours?
Unless he rejoined. Yeah, I know. They had some issues. They went separate ways. Unless he rejoined, but I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure he's still in Slipknot.
He is in Slipknot, but not in Stone Sour.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. He had a problem with the drummer or something. I don't know. But yeah, so with Corey Taylor and essentially like most of the people in a couple Slipknot people there, we were actually just talking before the show started. Like that's kind of we would consider that almost to be like our big three growing up was Slipknot, Disturbed, and Avenged Sevenfold. So that show in particular was a huge show for us, for me at least, and I know for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still have the photo we all took together. Like, I'm like, oh yeah. And I look at that photo. I'm like, that was one of the best shows I've ever been to.
Yeah, that
As a
was.
person who's been to a lot of shows.
Yeah, no, that I mean, you've been to way more shows than me, but that show still for me is like that was awesome. That was so awesome. But I will say, I think seeing Avenged Sevenfold this last time I think that's my new favorite show. That show was amazing. I gotta be honest. Controversial
Um,
take.
well, maybe amongst the Sevenfold fans, but I mean, I will say this is the best the band has sounded in quite a long time, like as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, M Shadow sounds great. Sinister Gates sounds great. They're killing it.
Yeah,
So
their opener choices might be a little questionable, though.
yeah. Poppy's, Poppy. So,
Yeah,
uh, but anyway, so yeah, we that was a great show. So yeah, obviously we like Avenged Sevenfold. We grew up listening to that and just rock and metal music in general. We've written some music together. That's another thing. We wrote a couple songs a few years back. We've never released anything, but
nah,
um,
our
yeah.
COVID band.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
we'll release
COVID.
something one day. One
Oh,
day.
definitely. We'll get there. I told you I learned how to MIDI drums, so we'll
Yeah.
actually get like full track going. Um, yeah, so I think that'd be a good segue into let's just talk about kind of our specific preferences for music. So again, this episode is kind of meant to be like if you're on episode 50 or something and you just want to start at the beginning and learn a little bit. This is meant to be like an introduction to who we are, what we like, how we're going to approach the show, that type of thing. So yeah, let's just talk about backgrounds in music. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So again, me and Cam, were you ever a part of the guitar club that started by Emma's dad? Uh,
No, I
Okay.
must have been gone by then. I was part of
Okay.
the
Yeah.
guitar class at St. Pius, but
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of really how I picked up the guitar for the first time. Was like, all right, I didn't want to go to the after school program at school. I could avoid it for like 30, 45 minutes if I went to this guitar club thing.
Oh, but you know what though? I did. I know that Emma had her dad was really into guitar because I went to her birthday party and
Oh my god.
that was where you met
Yeah,
your wife.
this is true. Yes.
Yeah, it was
Almost
so
17 years ago.
what's funny about this is I was there the first day that Aubrey met his wife, and then I never saw her again until after they were like married, like 15 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
Um,
and you dropped your pizza on the floor.
and that's like the big story. I dropped my pizza on the
Yes.
floor. Anyway,
um, but yeah, I
but
mean, basically, that guitar club was how I picked up a guitar. Before that, I had taken drum lessons for a couple of years.
mhm,
Um, and I just kind of got to a point in my life where I had a lot of extracurriculars going on. And I had to basically make a decision between sports and music. I
mhm.
think, kind of unfortunately, I picked sports because
Dang.
I said, well, I loved all the memories from the sports, and I met a lot of great friends through it. But like, I'm not going out there kicking a soccer ball, these days. But I can pick up a
Right,
guitar and I can pick up my sticks, and I'm like, man,
right.
if I had spent 10 years doing this instead of playing soccer, I would probably be way better and enjoy this more.
Yeah.
But alas, decisions were made. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. Uh, hey, you know, that's how it goes. I mean, you still learn to play guitar, which is good.
Yeah, but I could have been probably much more than what I am today.
Hmm. See, I was always pretty terrible at sports. I was very skinny and introverted and all that jazz. So I actually found guitar through Guitar Hero. I went over to a friend's house and he had Guitar Hero. And the first night I played, I was like obsessed. I actually took piano lessons in like seventh grade and I hated it. And I literally remember thinking like music is stupid. And so, you know, a couple months later, I went over to this friend's house and we played Guitar Hero, and I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever done. Like, I thought it was just awesome. And like that night, I played so much that I actually got up to medium level on the first night. So I begged my parents that year or that Christmas for Guitar Hero 3, and they got it for me. I played it to death. I actually got a small callus on my middle finger from the Guitar Hero controller because the yellow button on the Guitar Hero controller has that little notch in it, you know?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I got a callus from that. But anyway, I love Guitar Hero. That was my jam. And
That's
so
what the world's missing. The world needs Guitar Hero again.
I hear they're making another one. Did you hear about that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I think they're making another one. We can thank Machine Gun Kelly for that.
Oh, great. Maybe
Yeah.
he did do one thing right.
Hey, it's the best thing he's done since. Well, actually, do you think Rap Devil was like a good diss track?
Um,
What do you think? I think it was. It's funny. Like, I think it was all right for him. I think it was all right for him, and that's why
I
Eminem
mean,
responded. Yeah, look at it this way. He actually got a response from Eminem, unlike
that's fair.
Nick Cannon and Benzino, who have
That's
dissed
true.
him. Yeah, or the Game.
That's
Even the
true.
Game released like a 6-minute diss track at Eminem, and just didn't even respond.
That's true.
So
I feel like I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Nick Cannon and the other guy beef, but I feel like the Machine Gun Kelly and
oh
Eminem
man.
beef was perhaps on the higher level.
Well, it was well, yeah, definitely. That's why. But the thing with Nick Cannon was he was married to Mariah Carey, and
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
that makes sense. I understand now.
Okay. Anyway, though, yeah, I think they're making a new Guitar Hero, but yeah, I played Guitar Hero to death to the point where I mean, I like was 4-starring, 5-starring the Dragon Force songs, and then one day,
This is true. I was there.
yeah, no, I was crazy at that game, and then but that game had won by Metallica, and then one day at school, I saw one of my classmates play that on real guitar, and you gotta remember at this point I'm kind of burnt out on guitar, not really burnt out on Guitar Hero, but I've like taken it to its limit to a certain extent. I mean, it could have gone farther, obviously. Like, there's those guys out there who are ridiculous and they hit every single note, but I never wanted to be that guy. So yeah, I saw my friend play a real guitar, and I remember begging him like, "Please let me borrow a guitar, please, 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 and show me how to play one," because I just wanted to play Metallica. And he was like, "Dude, you need to learn your chords first." And I was like, "No, I'm not learning those stupid chords." Like, so I actually had terrible rhythm. He wouldn't let me in his band for like 2 years. Well, actually, he never let me in his band, but because I couldn't play. I couldn't keep rhythm. I sucked at rhythm because I literally spent the first 2 years of playing guitar just practicing lead, like solos and stuff. So, hey, but yeah, I picked up guitar and like, admittedly, I got really good. I got really good within about a year and a half. Mainly because I switched schools and I didn't have any friends, so I would just come home from school every day and practice guitar. Uh, but there's a nice end to that story is when I switched schools again to another high school. I actually won the talent show, and then that's when I started making some friends. I played the Star Spangled Banner, and shortly after that, I started getting invited to parties. I had my first beer, and yeah. So then I came out to Austin and I started a band called Resisting Vegas. I'm still in that band. We actually just played a show. We just opened for Alien Ant Farm this past weekend, so that's great. We've released 2 albums and a number of EPs, and then I'm in another band which I've been in for about a year now called Vigilandia, and we've got I think they've released 2 EPs before me, and then there's an EP, or we've got 2 EPs that we're working on right now that should be out pretty soon. So yeah, I've released a few albums, a few EPs, still play almost every day, just write stuff on my own, love guitar. It's my jam. So yeah, there we
Yeah.
go.
Um,
Um,
what would you say your top, like, just so people kind of have an idea of kind of what we listen to, like top
mhm.
5 or so artists?
I think so. I actually have mine like solidly down, and they've been my top 5 for a long time. Uh, Avenged Sevenfold is definitely first. and then the rest are kind of in no particular order. But I would say Guns N' Roses, Metallica.
Gross.
We're going to talk about that. We will have an episode on that because I will debate you on Guns N' Roses. I think they
I
are
hate Guns N' Roses
incredible.
so much.
They're so good. But we got Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Eminem, and controversial one, aside from Guns N' Roses, apparently, Kanye. Kanye is in my top 5.
I understand. I can understand how you like Kanye more than
You
Guns N'
understand? So
Roses.
you're cool with Kanye, but not
Yep.
Guns N' Roses. That's
Yep.
wild.
Yep.
All right, whatever. It's fine. What about you? Oh, I'll give an honorable mention to Van Halen and Polyphia. Polyphia has been really blowing my mind lately with some of their stuff.
Yeah.
Just awesome approach to writing music and changing the game. So I like stuff like that. Like, if most of my favorite artists are artists who can try new things or who are willing and like to try new things and push the boundaries of what they have done before and who are capable of doing it successfully. I think that's just I think music should be like a journey. You should constantly be trying to improve and change and so yeah. What about you, Aubrey? Who are your top artists? You've got a longer list than me.
It's so hard, man. We both listen to so much music, and I think, I know hands down Avenged Sevenfold #1 spot, no questions for me.
Which actually, sorry to cut you off, but
That's okay.
I do want to note one of the interesting things about you and I, like growing up with, is that we have very similar musical tastes, but we do not have the same musical tastes. And
Oh, yeah.
so I think that that's actually kind of a fun thing for this podcast is like we both have Avenged Sevenfold as our favorite, but then we deviate quite a bit,
Yeah.
after that. So I just think it's going to be
Yeah.
fun. Just so people understand that, like growing up, we've always had very interesting conversations because it's almost like at the highest level, yeah, we're on the same page. But then when we start digging into it, it's like, dude, how can you like Guns N' Roses? And I'm like, best. So, okay,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. No. Bring Me the Horizon, another huge band. Clutch takes probably a top 3 spot. Billy Joel, Phil
Oh, okay.
Collins, couple more honorable mentions: Cradle of Filth, Steely Dan, Rise Against, Shakira, Pat Benatar.
Shakira. Ooh. All right.
Listen, I drove when I had just graduated college. Me and my wife drove to Miami and back in like a 24-hour period just to see Shakira because we only drove the 12 hours because we were too poor to afford plane tickets.
That sounds like Stockholm syndrome or what's it called?
I don't know.
It makes me think of there's a place I live in Austin, and so there's a place called Freddy's or Franklin's Barbecue, and you have to wait like 6 hours to get the barbecue, but it's always like rated #1. And the collective theory in Austin is that you just convince yourself, So I'm not saying
Shakira, hands down, was an incredible concert experience for so many levels. 10 out of 10, highly recommend.
Hey, you know what? I saw Taylor Swift, and that was actually a fantastic.
I would see Taylor Swift, hands down.
That was crazy. 3-hour show she did. It was awesome. So,
I guess my last honorable mention would be Typo Negative. Rest in peace, Peter Steele.
That's an interesting one, but cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think you've always like just kind of the more like just rock and roll more than me.
Yeah, I mean, like just rock and roll, man.
Yeah. And see, I'm almost at the point where I'm tired of rock and roll. Like I want to hear crazy new stuff. That's why I like the Polyphia stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy some Polyphia. I think you enjoy them more than me.
Yeah, I did go to the Polyphia concert last year, and that was awkward, man. It was weird. It's weird. Like, well, first off, I think something was up with their mics, so they didn't talk to the crowd the whole show, and they're an instrumental band, so they just never spoke to us the whole show. So it was just weird, and they'd start a song and then finish it, and
it was just like
cheering.
It was like the live version of the album, basically.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, and they sounded great, and their songs are like unbelievably difficult to play, but it was awkward. It was real weird.
So we've talked about the Polyphia show before, where you said they sounded great now, but in the past you were kind of like What was that crap? What's that song? I think it was
Playing
probably
God.
yeah, their encore. You're like, it was a little sloppy.
Well, okay, so playing God, I'll be honest, it didn't sound great. But that's because that song is so ridiculously difficult, and they do so many like harmonies and very tight sections. But okay, here's what the actual problem is that it's played on nylon string guitars, which pop. And so
Yeah,
if they play the same part at the same time on the strings, just going da da dun, on an electric guitar, they can go like da na na, and it'll sound fine because an electric guitar has reverb and distortion, and it sounds big. But when you do that da 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 a nylon string guitar, it pops. So it goes da da da, and so it's almost like a percussive sound. So if they are off by even a microsecond on the percussion on that part, on any part, you hear it. It doesn't sound on. They sound off. And so it's really easy when you're playing easy stuff with nylon string guitars, like just dun 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 dun. Like that section of playing God actually sounded great because it's not that hard, and so it's kind of easy for them to just jam with each other. But when you do stuff like the intro or the outro, which are ridiculously difficult to play, uh, the popping is off time just by like a nanosecond, and it just didn't sound good. I'll be honest, like my girlfriend and I were walking out of that show because she really likes playing God as well, and we were just like, that was not, that did not translate to live well. If like honestly, after watching it, I would suggest that they just play it on electric guitar. So
okay.
anyway, that was a long tangent on Polyphia, but yeah, uh, that's a great song though. Love playing God.
Oh yeah,
Really,
no,
yeah.
it's an incredible song.
So yeah, that's awesome. Um, Clutch, man, that's an
I
interesting
loved
one.
Clutch.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Clutch just like rocks though. Like they just like,
Yeah, they are. They kind of remind
yeah,
me of like a dad rock band. I was like, man,
yeah.
I'd like to have a beer with those guys.
See, that's what I mean. I'm like, I don't get me wrong. I love that stuff, and I can totally jam to it. But I don't know if I would list it as like a favorite.
Nah,
Um,
everybody needs some Clutch. Clutch is like one of those bands in my life. I'm like, how are they not bigger? And I understand why they're not bigger, but it
yeah.
just like it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like
Maybe we,
everybody could benefit from some Clutch in their life.
you know what? Maybe we should write that down as a show topic. Why isn't Clutch bigger? And we can analyze it.
I'm here for it, dude, because they deserve more
Mm-hmm.
respect. I think, in my opinion, but they
Well,
have like a cult following.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they're big. They're not
Yeah,
like they're certainly not like some unknown band. Like they're big. So, how long have they been around? They've been around a
before
long
us,
time.
before
Yeah.
we were born.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay. So I guess technically it is dad rock.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am
Yeah.
a dad now, so
Fair enough. Okay. For
maybe
the
that's what the missing ingredient you're missing came is once you become. No, I liked Clutch way more. Not way more, but I liked them before I was a dad. But
all
I
right.
don't know. I
Well,
don't know if I enjoy them more or less now.
let me have a kid, and then I'll let you know what I think of Clutch. Then, okay.
Yeah, we'll write a thesis.
We'll creep up into my top five. See you later, Eminem. Which actually, he's got a new song
Guess
coming
who's
out.
back?
Yeah, right. He has a new song
Yeah.
coming out tomorrow night or
Called
Friday.
Houdini, right?
Houdini, yeah, which I am so excited for. I can't wait to see what he's cooking up. So he's always so exciting to listen to because he can do anything. That's kind of what I like in my artists. I like to be surprised, and the last album, The Music to Be Murdered By, I feel like people don't really talk about that album a lot, but I
It
loved
was
it. I
not
would
my
have
fave. I'm not gonna lie.
see. I thought it was so cool. I would have never expected Eminem to do this like Alfred Hitchcock 50s.
I think the concept was great. I love the concept of it. It just didn't resonate with me,
Yeah, fair
or the
enough.
execution didn't resonate with me. But I also am a big fanboy of older Eminem, like the Slim Shady era, versus
Hmm.
some of the newer Eminem. And I think that's just because, like, when I think of Eminem, I think of like
In the
I guess
trailer
like the
park.
darker. Yeah, like the darker side,
Got
which
no money, rock bottom.
yeah, but I still think like even some of his more recent albums are good too. I just like if I could
Mhm.
pick one, I want Dark Side Eminem
See,
personally.
I am actually on the opposite end. I love old Eminem. Don't get me wrong, absolutely love it. But I think right now the stuff he's making lately, for whatever reason, like creatively to me, it's just so much more like engaging. I think he's rapping at like the top of his ability right now. It's awesome. Uh, yeah, like and just the rhyme schemes and the word choices and stuff on Music to Be Murdered By, like it just had me geeking. I just loved it. Super cool, super interesting stuff. But I will say, definitely not like main. I don't want to say mainstream, but I definitely don't, or maybe like widespread appeal. I could see why it wouldn't
Yeah,
have
it's a more like a
the.
big brain rapping where I think the
Yeah,
older Slim Shady esque era is more of emotional. If that makes sense.
yeah. Well, it is, and it was like, I mean, he was rapping to save his life, basically, get himself out the
Yeah,
gutter. Like he better make sure people like it, you know. But now I kind of feel like, especially with Music to Be Murdered By, is he got into this weird little like niche where he can do whatever he wants and it's going to be pretty successful. And so he got to make this album that's, again, it's like this weird
it's kind of
concept thing.
like a art for art phase of his career now.
Exactly, and that's what I appreciate about it, because he's just pushing the limits of like flow and rhymes, and so I really like that. So again, no, I love old Eminem, but I just think the stuff he's doing right now, it's very like creatively fulfilling to me, because I feel like it's creatively fulfilling to him. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
with that said, I think I'm really excited to hear Houdini, because it sounds like he's trying to make this album. I mean, the name of the album is The Death of Slim Shady. So to me, I think this album is meant to have a little more of like a mainstream appeal, uh,
Yeah,
and maybe even bring it back to the older stuff. So
we'll
uh,
see. I'm
yeah,
excited for it either way. I'm going to listen to it.
oh yeah, no, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. So um, okay, well, I think we've talked about a whole lot of good stuff here. Maybe just to kind of close out this little intro, unless you had anything else, let's just talk a little bit about this podcast and what our
Yeah.
goals are for it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of to recap, um, you know, me and Cam both love music. We love talking about music. And, we want to talk about a wide variety of different topics about music, song structure, um, intricacies,
mhm.
uh,
History.
songs and history of instruments, genres, bands, some psychology stuff maybe in music.
Yeah.
Um, but I think something that makes us unique is although I have probably 5 or 6 years of music lessons between two instruments and a little bit of music theory, I very much so do not have the vast knowledge that you do, Cameron, on a lot of different topics.
Hmm.
Um, so we're trying to come from this approach, I think, of like getting both sides of the story of like, I'm going to learn a lot and I'm going to ask a lot of questions and
Hmm.
Cameron's going to hopefully teach me a lot, but I feel like I'm also hopefully maybe going to teach him some things too.
Well, yeah. So again, kind of what we said at the beginning, like we've always had, I feel like we've always had really interesting discussions about music. Um, like Aubrey briefly mentioned it, but this was something that I came up with this idea for this a few months ago. And I had actually had you in mind. You were like the only person I had in mind to do this show with, because we do have such interesting conversations. My goal with this podcast and kind of uh, what made me want to make it is uh, twofold. One, I feel like there isn't enough. Uh, I feel like the conversations around music right now go one of two ways. Maybe this is a better way to put it. They are either short, shallow content like reactions or reviews, and that can be fun to have your favorite YouTube reviewer that you go and listen to, but it's shallow. It's just, oh, I like this song, or I don't like this song, or I feel like this just didn't work for me. And I don't, as a songwriter, I don't really like that. I think that's kind of boring. I want to talk about why didn't it work? Why is this boring? Why is it bland? Or why does it work? What did they do? Because it's not magic. Like songwriting isn't magic. They sit in the studio, they come up with the beats and the chords and the melodies and all of that, and they slave away at it, like all of them do. Uh, and so I wanted there to be content that talks about how songs are made and talks about songs and music in general rationally and can kind of get into the nitty gritty of it. And then the second end of that, so that's the first end, is I think a lot of content is too shallow. But then the second end of this is the other type of content that's out there is like theory overload. And I know quite a lot of theory. Like I know a good amount. I can tell you all the different scales and the modes, your chord types, suspended seconds and fourths and sevenths and all of that jazz. But theory is not the end all be all for music. And I've seen some music people on YouTube who will get into discussions about theory, and it's just boring. And to the normal listener, to the average listener, it means nothing. Like it literally means nothing. And the truth is for the average songwriter, it means nothing because most songwriters don't know that much theory. Because theory is just a tool that you can use. If you know how to make four chords sound amazing and make a great song out of them, you're a great musician. You can be a great musician without knowing the theory behind it. So I wanted to kind of make a show that was somewhere in the middle. And this is why, again, like Aubrey, I think this would be great. Like you said, having someone who isn't like some theory nerd or like even just this musical maestro, but somebody that I respect musically to talk to, because I think there's a fine line in the middle to talk about like the art of songwriting, the process of making a song and the intricacies that go into it without getting sucked into just boring like theory discussions, because there's so much more to it than that, So yeah, I think in general, and then kind of just the last little tidbit is I tried finding a podcast like that or a show like that, and I just couldn't quite find it the way that I wanted it. And so I was like, why don't I make it? And if I have somebody like you, Aubrey, which again, you're like the only one, I was like, I should get Aubrey on it because then I can learn and I can improve my craft and see different perspectives. And honestly, I just love talking about music. So yeah, that was kind of my goal for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to learn a lot of things about, like, even just simple things that I know a little bit about, but like don't actually understand. Like even
Mm-hmm.
getting as simple as song structure and like what an intro, chorus, pre-chorus, and like those little things are. It's like I know, like when I listen to music, I'm like I know what they are, kind of, but not really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, that's another aspect of it too, is I think a lot of musicians today, or a lot of music today, to put it bluntly, isn't living up to the potential of music. I mean, so many songs, I mean, they've even simplified it in a lot of popular songs today. They've simplified it even more than it used to be. Now we've just got like verse, chorus, and then the song ends. And it's like, well, what was even the point of that song? Why would I spend my time listening to it? It wasn't even about anything. It's just a verse, chorus. So just talking about something like how a song is structured and the different types of structures you can have, I think for songwriters that'll be valuable, but also for listeners and people who maybe don't play an instrument or write music, but just are passionate about music. I think it would help to have some more of a rational understanding of the art. So that way, when you hear a song that maybe does something structurally that's interesting, you can actually appreciate the effort and the work that went into it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
for sure.
also, I mean, there's lots of that stuff that, the songwriting portion specifically is what I love, but there's lots of stuff that we can talk about that isn't even going to be related to songwriting where I can learn, we had spoken about like the history of genres and the history of instruments and just anything that we want to talk about. I think it's just going to be nice having a platform for it.
Yeah, I agree. We have some pretty high hopes, goals, dreams, and ambitions, and hopefully
Yeah.
we can execute them adequately for people to just take anything away from. Really, is if we can encourage one kid to pick up an instrument or learn a little bit more, or not even a kid, anybody really,
Yeah.
to just do
Just
the
see
thing.
just see music a little differently. Like
Yeah,
because I don't you and I spoke about this a few weeks ago about how like I think this was actually when I asked you to about or told you about the show was we were talking about how we're a little dissatisfied with music lately, you
yeah,
know? And my thesis behind that, my theory for that, it's because we've lost the ability to like rationally think about music. Like I don't think that because here's the thing, when you look at like a movie, right? It's you can look at a $300 million movie that lasts 2 hours, and it's very easy to pick out the flaws and the problems and maybe even be frustrated with that movie while you're watching it, right? But when you hear like a 2.5 minute song that's bad or bland or boring, you're not going to sit and make a hour long video on it explaining why it's bad, or most people aren't, but we might. But
yeah. I'd be like,
in fact we
insert us
will.
here.
Yeah, that's just it. That's why I wanted to do it, because most people are just gonna be like, oh, I didn't like that song, and then they move on with their lives, you know. And
Yeah,
but then I think over time it's like death by a thousand cuts, where you're like, geez, I haven't listened to a song that actually did anything for me in like
yeah,
6 months. Like, what's going
yeah,
on? And so, dun da da da, here we are, and we're gonna do it because I like doing it. I already do it on my own,
yeah.
and I think it would be really helpful. So, yeah, I think if this can just encourage you to look at music a little differently, or pick up an instrument and play, or something like that, that would be
Or
great.
maybe discover a new artist, because we're gonna. I
Mhm.
mean, we're gonna cover anybody and everybody.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Love covering new artists. Love talking about new things and new songs. Um, yeah, I think the one, and then we did have this little note here. The one thing that we would ask y'all to do is just whenever we got a song coming up, make sure you're listening to the song before the episode, because we're going to kind of talk about the song as if you've listened to it. Um, I think that's like
yeah,
the
and
only.
we'll probably mention that before, like at every episode too. I would say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just like, hey, before we get into this, make sure you listen to the song
Yeah,
and all that. But yeah, so I think that's about it.
yeah. I mean, I think we mentioned all the things, perhaps
Mhm.
ad nauseum. So,
Yeah. Do
but
you want to let them know what the first song's gonna be? Do you think we should?
uh, yeah, I mean, we can. So, yeah, I think we decided, kind of. I think, in my opinion, a rock classic and kind of a very hopefully simple song.
Mhm.
It's going to be just "Hell's Bells" by AC/DC. Um,
Hell yeah.
it'd be nice, kind of. I think starter to kind of set some foundation for musical song structure knowledge,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, plus that song's just awesome.
yeah, it is. I mean, you hear that bell. Like if you're at a sports event and you hear that bell or something,
Mhm.
and you're like, "Oh," I mean, not probably not everybody, but
I
vast majority of
yeah,
people are gonna be like, "Oh."
I think that is the most iconic bell in all of music, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be between that and "For Whom the Bell Tolls" by
I
Metallica.
I was thinking that too, but
I might.
that's actually, now that you say that, I don't know though. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Okay,
that is a
it
tough
is
one.
it is absolutely in the top two most iconic bells in music.
Yeah,
All right, cool. So there you go. Your homework. Listen to Hell's Bells by AC/DC. And yeah, I think that's it.
yeah. Alrighty, guys. We'll be releasing hopefully that episode here soon, and until then,
Peace out.
enjoy. Yeah, we gotta come up with a better outro.
We'll get there. We'll figure it out. All right. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.